Hello, my name is Yalım Gerger. I'm the founder of Gitora. In this short demo, I'm gonna show you a few nice, cool features that you can use in Gitora to make you more productive. So this is the setup of the demo. We're gonna have two development environments, two separate databases. One is called Dev1, the other is called Dev2. We're going to have a Preprint database, and we're going to have only one to keep the demo short. But in a real world, this Preprint environment probably consists of multiple stages, such as test and user acceptance testing databases. But the process is going to be basically the same. Multiple developers can work on Dev1, and multiple developers can work on Dev2. And there's also going to be a release manager or multiple release managers. In this demo, again, I'm just going to have one developer work on Dev1 and another one work on Dev2, but essentially these can be multiple developers. And this setup is going to have a few advantages. Because we have two development environments, there will be fewer queues, so people are going to block each other a lot less. And actually, people are going to be able to work on the same logical, say, package and then merge their changes later on. We're going to be able to implement automatic deployment, and that's a green. So green means, it's really nice. Yellow is, it's nice, but it can be better. So using Gitora APIs in such a setup, we can do automatic deployment from one development environment to the other or to pre-prod. Source code is going to be in Gitora, and reliably so. So in other words, usually if the process of putting code to version control is manual, people either forget or don't do it at all. So in case of say a catastrophe, God forbid, or where you lose it when you lose a database, this version control repository you use don't essentially store the real code that you want to go back to, which sort of beats the purpose. But in this setup, Gitora and Git will store the source code and reliably so you can always go back to your repository and retrieve your latest version. In this setup also, there is less confusion between where the projects are, where the features are, because we have two environments. So we can use one of these databases to deliver hot fixes and the other one to implement longer lasting features. As you can see, we have some branching and there is some merging going on. We can have better automated testing because while we are moving the code from one database to the other, we can use Git hooks to run some unit tests, some integration tests. And what's great is that the rules of version control are enforced at the database level. It's managed by a release manager. It's not some procedure that people are following manually. So that's one of the biggest advantages. Okay, so let's start with the demo. So I have, like I said, I have three databases, Dev1, Dev2, and Preprod. So I'm just going to, I pre-recorded all this just so that we can do this smoothly. So we have Dev1, Dev2, and Preprod. We're going to start with Preprod. In Preprod, we have a few packages and a few tables. So in this example, I'm going to also show you how we manage DDLs to tables. We also have some sequences. And the other databases are currently empty. So we're going to start by cloning that's the Git term, we're going to clone our Preprod environment, which stores the real code, to the Dev1 and Dev2 environments so that developers can start developing. Okay, so let's speed this up a little bit. And this is the pre-prod environment of Gitora. So the realm man, the release manager, logs in. And we don't even have a repository set up yet, so we're just setting a repository real quickly. We name it anything, demo, and the default schema is called demo schema. And as you see, the repository is created. And now we're going to have to add our objects to the repository. So we really are starting from scratch. And this is how pretty much all of you are going to start once you start using Gitora. So I'm adding all the packages. We're going to talk about the NU model package a little bit more later on, but for now, just it's all in the repository. It's all now being tracked by Gitora, and we are doing our first commit. Once we commit it all, everything is going to be in Gitora and in Git committed. Okay, we committed. We got the commit message. Great. Now we go back to Dev1. Now there's still nothing there because it's everything we've done was in Preprint. So we go back to the Dev1 installation of Gitora. So we're now in Gitora for Dev1, which manages Dev1, and we log in as John, the developer John, which works on Dev1, and there can be multiple developers, of course, but we're just going to use one. Each Gitora installation can talk to each other. So in the Dev1, we actually have some information that points back to Preprint. This way, we can clone from our Preprint environment. So we hit the clone button, and the screen pops up. I'm recorded this on a laptop that runs three different virtual machines. So things seem a little bit slow, but it's not slow. Normally, these things are usually very quick. So we pick the remote Gitora. We create a new repository. So we give it the same name. We don't have to, but we are. And we are mapping each schema in the source to another schema in the target. We don't have to pick the same names. Just for ease of use, we are picking the same names. Notice that all the commits in the previous Gitora, in the pre-prod Gitora, are now here. And so are our objects. So all the packages have moved here automatically, which is really nice and really cool. And the commit history also has moved, which is really, really nice. And even better, we don't have the tables yet, but we have our packages. So they are also automatically created in Gitora, in my database, thanks to Gitora. So what about tables? That's where the NU model package comes in. This is the way we manage our, and let me just quickly pause here. But this is the way we manage the tables. So it's half manual, half automatic. What we do here is that we keep the DDL statement in execute immediates in a package, and then we run the do model procedure which has the full model of our application, the tables, the DDLs, and everything else that we cannot create using the create or replace command, what we call the hard objects. So what I'm going to do is I simply run this do model procedure, and it's going to create everything for me. And if I add new columns, say to my model, I'm going to add these DDLs at the bottom of this package, at the bottom of this do model procedure as alter commands. And then when I run this package a second time somewhere else, and these additional columns will show up. So let's move on. So essentially, we are turning a problem of DDLs, which are hard objects that cannot be easily created and managed with Git. We're turning into a file-based problem, a soft object problem that we can use a file-based solution. And that's like half automatic, half manual, but I think that's quite okay, really, and good enough for most shops. I mean, we've been shipping software to hundreds of customers like this without any issue, and many people have worked like this in our organization, multiple developers. So at this point, all we do is run the model, and that creates all of our tables. And that also, compiles the rest of the packages, because the rest of packages reference these tables. And sequences are here, and the packages are all compiled. Perfect. And now the next thing, we're gonna repeat the same thing for Dev2. Just the same thing, because separate development environments. So I'm just gonna speed this up. It's basically the same thing, no difference. I'm cloning my data, my preprod repository to Dev2 and run my model. And that's it, really. So let's. Okay, so I guess that's it. Packages here, and it's all compiled, and everybody, both Dev1 and Dev2 contain the latest version of my code and my model. So now I'm going to start modifying things. Okay, Dev1, in Dev1, we start by modifying the NU PKG package, and we are adding a new function. It's called new function by John, I think, because the developer's name is John in this case. So John comes into Dev1 and creates a new function. It can be any function, really. We're just going to create a dummy one in this case. So I create a function that returns 100. I save, but I failed. It didn't work because this package is now being managed by Gitora, by version control. So what do I have to do? I have to log in. So this is just a one-liner that I have to run so that I can start modifying code. I don't find it very difficult. I just keep it open in my development tool and just run it when I log in. But the whole process can be automated, and some of our customers automate it so that Gitora knows who you are. You can do that with the database login trigger. So now that we're logged in, our changes went through. Now John is going to make another update in the NU util package. He's going to change the function Eric returning 77 from 7. Instead of 7, the function is going to return 77. And we do this so that we cause a conflict in the end. We want to cause a conflict, and I'm going to show you how we solve conflicts in the code. So John makes a small comment, makes a change, no problem, because he's working he's in his own environment, in the Dev1 environment. If there were other developers here making changes, then John couldn't make these changes if somebody checked out a new util package, because the package would be locked by another developer. But that's not the case here. So, and finally, John is going to add a new column. This is something we do very often. So we're just adding a new column to the NU log table. And the only manual thing we do here, which I believe is pretty reasonable, is that we make sure that this alter command gets registered to our model package, NU model. So we go down to NU model, do model, and just add this code block, which first verifies if the column already exists, and then executes the alter table command. There are various ways to do this. This is the one we chose, and that's it really. So if we go back to the Dev1 Gitora that manages Dev1, you see that 3 objects are checked out for John, and only for John. So if John now tries to commit, he sees these changes. He made 3 changes to 3 different packages. Before he commits those changes, he can see a diff and find out what he changed. So he added these 3 lines to a new model. He added this new function to a new PKG and changed a row in new util. And that's fine. That's what John wants to commit. So he makes he adds a commit message. Every commit must have a message. Usually we give the issue number here, a ticket ID or something like that, and we hit commit. So now John's changes are committed, and you see the message in Git, and you can even click there and see what has changed, and that's very useful. Even months later, you can come in and see what has been changed as part of this commit and try to make sense of it. So we have a nice history of changes here. Now next, Dev2 is going to make a change. In Dev2, we're going to make a change, and that's the developer. What was it? Smith? I think it was Smith. So as part of it, we're going to log in first, but this time the username is Smith. So we're going to log in as Smith. Otherwise, Gitora won't allow us to make any changes. And then we're going to add a new function here too, to do NU neuron QRI, which stands for query package. And to the get level function, we're just going to add a new variable and change the SQL query. So that's our change. That's our first change. We save it. Because the package was available, Gitora checks it out automatically. And now that's important. It's the second step. Smith is making a change to the same package that John did in a different development environment. They are not aware that they're editing the same logical package. They're physically adding different packages, and that's going to cause what we call a merge conflict. Smith is also adding a column to the same table. And again, he's going to do the same thing and add this to the NU model package in his own database in the Dev2 environment. He is not aware of any changes that John has made at this point. He doesn't see them because this is a different copy of the new model package, even though logically it's the same package. Okay, so Smith is done. So Smith goes back to the Gitora that manages Dev2. He sees the changes he made here again. He can look at the diffs if he needs to, just like John has done, and now he's ready to commit. And he commits, gives his issue number. He's solving a issue. It has a ticket number, so that's what he enters. and he can see the history of the changes. Now both development environments are ready to ship. So they tell the release manager, okay, we are ready, take our changes. Now that's when the release manager comes in, and what we call, and he does what we call a pull. So right now we're in the pre-prod environment, in the Gitora that manages the pre-prod environment. This environment sees both Dev1 and Dev2. First, we're going to pull from Dev1 to take John's changes. So we picked the demo repository, we picked the master branch, we kept things simple. We are only working on one branch, the master branch. And that's it. So we click OK. And yeah, merge is completed successfully, no issues. All the changes have been moved from Dev1 to Preprod, along with the commit history, which is great. That's exactly what we want. And if we look to the database, we'll see that the code in the database has been updated. So the packages are updated now. And all the changes have been brought to Preprod, all the changes that John made. You see the function here that John created. You see the update that John made to the function Eric. And you see the new few lines of code that John added to the model package. But the column is still not in the table. So what do? We do the same thing. We run the new model.doModel procedure. And this is not going to cause errors. It's got only one of the DDLs in that package is going to execute successfully, and we're going to have our column back. Now, the second step is coming, and we are pulling changes from Dev2. We are pulling the changes that Smith made. This is going to cause some merge conflicts because they both change the same thing. Again, we are pulling from Dev2, the demo repository, master branch. Click OK. We click OK. Merge completed with issues. Please review the issues and resolve them to finalize the pull. So we have two issues here. There was a conflict in new model and a conflict in new util. The conflict reason is UU, which means both sides have updates and Git could not resolve them. This is not always the case. Git is usually able to resolve these conflicts automatically. Resolve these changes automatically, but sometimes it cannot figure it out and says, hey, here's a conflict. A human needs to take a look at it. And now we refresh, and let's stop here real quick. You see multiple packages for the packages that have conflict. So we have NU model, NU model M, and NU model T, for example. NU model has the merged code, so Git just lumped them all together and just said, I don't know what to do. Here's how I merged them, which is wrong, I know, but go figure it out. And just to help us, just to help the developers, what Gitora does is it creates two more packages. One is called new model $M, the other is called new model $T. M stands for mine, which represents the previous state of the new model package before the second pull we made from Dev2, which had no issues. And the T1, the new model T, represents the version of the new model package that we pulled from Dev2 database. So if the conflict is complicated, and in some cases it might be, where you might want to put the two versions next to each other in a difference viewer and try to merge them all back together. That's why we create these two packages, so that you can easily compare these two packages. If it's a simple fix, a simple conflict, such as it is in this case, you don't really need these two packages. You can just open up the new model package as we're going to do here and just resolve the conflict and drop the M and T packages. So we go to the problematic part in the package, which is at the bottom, because both John and Sumit put their changes at the bottom, which is the same line essentially. So Git raised the conflict, but this one is easy to solve. We want both of them to be there, so we just make sure that both are there and the package is compiled. And we delete all the unnecessary stuff. And hit save. Again, we cannot save until we sign in. So the release manager has to sign in first. There is no way around this because it's enforced at the database level at the with a database trigger. So the release manager is connecting, and now he can save. Those two are not necessary. These are just the originals. And then we move to the second conflict, and the one we created on purpose. Here it is nutil, as you see. Now that's interesting. So we were expecting this. So let's stop this here for a minute. So one did it with one returned 77, the other returned 99. Apparently that's an issue. In these cases, in such cases, developers have to come together and talk to each other and resolve the conflict. And in our case, they agreed to return 88. So now that both developers, with the help of release manager, probably resolved the issue and agreed on 88, we can resolve this conflict too. And we can click here to resolve to. Let's stop here for a minute. That screen this actually doesn't. Let me go back here like really quick. The screen that you see here in Gitora, where I resolve things, this is not the functional screen. It just helps you to keep track of what's left in terms of conflicts. And when it's done, you just click resolve so that you make a mental note of it that it is resolved. And once you're ready, now we are ready for our final commit to finish the pull. So we commit, we make a little note saying conflicts resolved for the pull, and hit commit, and yeah, we are done. And what's nice is both issues are fixed now. We have the full commit history in Preprint, but we still don't have the second column. And now that's what we're going to do. We're just going to run the do model again. And that's going to bring the new column here. And everything's going to be compiled. We're happy. We can start our testing if you want to. We got the complete history here. And now, finally, obviously, let's stop here for a minute. Dev1 wants to move forward and start working on another bug, for example. But Dev1 developers, the developers who work on Dev1, of course, would like to continue from the latest version of the code base, if possible. I mean, they might forget that. It's okay. Nobody's going to lose code. We are using Gitora. So even if they forget that and keep working, and then the release manager merges, nothing is going to be overwritten. We're just gonna have more stuff to deal with. But therefore it's nice to work on the latest version of the code. Therefore, Dev1 developers decide to pull the latest version of the code from Preprint. So they go to Preprint and pull. from Preprint. And this time the merge completes successfully. No problems at all. As you see, now I have the full version history in my Dev1 environment. I even have the changes that were made in Dev2, which is great. All I have to do is run my do model package, and I'm going to have all the DDLs here too. I have all the changes that Smith made in Dev2 in the Northern Query package. It's a new version. It's automatically there. Everything is compiled. And I even have the the latest value 88 for the functionality. And that's the beauty of using version control. And I do the same thing for Dev2, of course, and both can continue happily to fixing the next bug. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to give you a quick look at one of the few cool things that you can do with Gitora. And if you have questions, please feel free to contact us. And you can always download Gitora from Gitora.com. Thank you.